Okay. Um, Last thing I wanted to bring up, just a subject, because I'm really interested in just kind of touching on it with you is, um, I think it's, an understatement to say that the last few months in the ecosystem have been energetic.
To say the least.
Yeah. And of course, we've got retail pays the bills. We've got all sorts of different conversations around leadership and marketing. It was like weeks ago, I was like outside in front of my house screaming into my phone about like marketing is bad. And so it's like all of that. I mean, we don't really have to really, touch on it too much because we both kind of know exactly what I think everyone
Mhm.
knows exactly what we're talking about. But in regards to that kind of stuff, like where's your head at with things when we look at the next month's year
Mm.
of Hedera, where we're at, what we've
Yeah.
learned, some of that controversy.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with a small plug. I feel like I've created a marketer's dream
Mm,
tool here, right? Um, Now that said, I have not had anyone from the Hashgraph from Hedera or from the foundation reach out to me and ask how to get started. I hear there's people interested, but
really?
this is available. Yeah, I know. I think this is like the best marketing
Guys, I
tool in
swear,
all of
now that I'm
Hedera
here,
right now.
one sec. Now that I'm streaming to LinkedIn, for God's sake, if anyone from these organizations is watching the show on that godforsaken platform, LinkedIn, please, like, start using this thing. Like it, we've got like a great like engagement marketing type thing. If you shut me up, like start using this thing for God's sake. But
Yeah.
anyways,
I mean, I've had good feedback from some people
nice.
in the marketing teams, but and maybe they're slower to move. Thankfully, I built this in my spare time, and I've got some co-founders that did a lot of the
Yeah.
development work for me. But the great thing is that we retail, we get to use this as a marketing tool, and
Yes.
maybe the organizations will come over in due
Mm.
time. But I think just coming back to your question, I think that if I was, I'm an engineer, I'm an entrepreneur, right?
Mm.
I'm a builder. I'm not a marketer. I just happen to know a little bit about marketing because it's been required for me to try to create success for my projects,
Mm.
right? But I would really take a step back, and I don't have any insights on our marketing team. I don't even talk to that team
Sure.
from any of our organizations, right? Just very sparingly. Just my time in Web3. I come from the old school of crypto. I can remember when you know it was really only Tether and Litecoin other than Bitcoin, right? This is before the Ethereum mainnet launch.
Mm.
And during my days, I was very active. I was the itsbrandond of the EOS ecosystem. I had EOS
Wow.
radio, right? I
Crazy.
had, yeah, I create shows and content every week. And one of the ideas there was, it's enterprise is right around the corner. Enterprise is right around the corner. And when I joined Block One, the creators of EOS, basically, the hash graph of the EOS world, if you
Mm.
will, we maintained the layer one. We had an entire department that was focused on enterprise solutions, right? With private EOS blockchains, not too different than the private hash graphs that we're currently talking about.
Gotcha.
But enterprises move very slowly. And we were way too early in 2019, 2020 during my tenure at Block One. And you have to look at where are the users right now. And in our heads, if we want to focus on, oh, we can get Web 2 companies over here and we can onboard their entire user base. If that's working, then let's keep on that. If it's not working as well as we want, we need to pivot our focus a bit, not
Mm.
abandon, but expand. And we need to
Yeah.
expand to where are the users? Where is the excitement? Because I think one thing, since I've been around for so long, I have my perspective is not just Hedera, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's like what you what I want is, and I think what a brand wants is try to get as many ambassadors as you can.
Yes.
And as we've seen with the governing council, they are not ambassadors of Hedera for the most part. They're not going around every day posting the greatness of Hedera, right? And talking about
Mm,
all the exciting things that are going on chain and that are
yeah.
happening in our ecosystem. Who is doing that? Well, retail is, right?
Yeah.
Retail's doing that. The end user's doing that. And
Hmm.
so if you want to have this basically free army of ambassadors, think the Link Marines, right? Back in the 2021 cycle of
Right.
Chainlink,
Sure.
right? If you want that just relentless, aggressive type of Hedera's the best, Hedera's the best, look at all the amazing things we're doing, that's going to come from the retail space and only the retail space.
Yeah.
That's not going to come from IBM, right?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think IBM can do some great things on chain. All right, I haven't seen a whole lot yet, but they have the resources, they have the team, they have the technology, they've got the talent. But for now, it's like go where your users are, and which is exactly why I built the barking game on Twitter. Right, I didn't go and build it on Warpcast because the
Right.
Hedera user is not on Warpcast. The base user is on
Right.
Warpcast.
Gotcha.
But go where the energy is and harness that energy where and when and how you can.
And I guess kind of where people's heads are at, because I think you and I, like, definitely, I think a lot of people in this community are on the same page in regards to like what challenges the ecosystem faces, mistakes that have been made, pathways forward. I think when we really ingest that, it paints an optimistic picture of like, hey, Hedera has a chance to really try a new approach to problems that a lot of other networks have faced and failed at. And so there's a lot of learnings there. But something I wanted to touch on here was like when we look at the future for Hedera and kind of what these approaches are, from your perspective, like, do you agree with kind of what people are talking about? Like, we need to enhance native staking. We need to, to your point with the governing council, like we need to minimize how important the governing council is. We need to, break out of our silos. We need to invest more in native projects versus bringing people from the outside in, like those kind of conversations that are happening. Do you mostly agree with that kind of stuff, or do you kind of have some opinions that might veer off a little bit
Yeah.
from the general
Well,
consensus?
I don't want to pretend that I create strategy. I'm not in a strategic role at Hedera.
Yeah.
I'm in quite a small role on the developer advocacy and product team. I don't have a fund. I don't have any money to support things. I built the barking game, just in my free time on my own
Yeah, I'm
dime.
more asking to the community member, Captain H. Bark.
Oh, yeah. I think I'll argue it from two sides. The first side is one theory is there's a whole lot of things that Hedera doesn't have that could be prescribed to creating success for other ecosystems.
Mm,
Things like lending protocols, things like oracles and stuff like that, right? These are things that you need if you're going to have a healthy and vibrant decentralized economy,
mm-hmm.
right? And Hedera's getting those, but it's taken quite some time, right? And so I think if I was in a strategic position at Hedera, I would really want to step back and from first principles, like think about what is our identity and who are we trying to be an
Mm,
ecosystem for? Because one of the things I identified very early in Hedera is a lack of when I started in 2021, and there was essentially a lack of any smart contracts,
sure.
right? Who needs a smart contract? Well, a decentralized community, a decentralized economy that don't know each other needs smart contracts because it can remove and lessen trust in the system.
Mm,
Hedera wasn't built that way. Hedera was built utilizing not smart contracts, but back-end code to manage tokens and stuff like that,
right.
which inherently means there is more trust in the system, right? And so Hedera was not created to be, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, doesn't represent, any opinions of Hashgraph, wasn't created to truly be a decentralized, trustless ecosystem because you have to trust builders running code on their own back ends that they have full permission over, right?
Right.
You guys have to trust that I am calculating the barks correctly, right?
Right.
But once that HBAR token is in your wallet, I don't have any permission on it, right? But it's not like now with the EVM, this whole changes. But we're playing such catch up in the true
Yeah.
trustless decentralized economy that Hedera, in my opinion, and Charles really need to think about like what is our current position
Mm-hmm.
as a decentralized ecosystem, as a decentralized economy. I want to use the word economy here, right? And who are the leaders, and why are they leaders? Specifically based in Solana, in my opinion. And what is our likelihood of being able to compete with them? Is there still a window of opportunity, which I think there is. I still think crypto is very young. And what is it going to take to build that type of decentralized trustless ecosystem, right? And if they don't think that there's an opportunity, then this enterprise focus should be the focus, because you can't forever spend HBARs to try to compete in everything. I've thought for some time that Hedera is in a bit of an identity crisis. And maybe crisis is a bit too strong here, but in an opportunity to re-identify, because you can't be everything for everyone, right? Look at Solana. They were specifically tailored to the degenerate retail user, and they give a strong focus on good UX and beautiful UIs, right? And that's going to attract that type of user, right? Base is doing something similar, but of course with the backing of the juggernaut Coinbase. If Hedera is going to continue to try to gain a capture a larger slice of that pie, either from the retail side or from the institution side, the enterprise side, I don't know what that plan is, right? And I don't know where that's weighted. Is this 90% institution or enterprise and 10% retail? Is it 99-1? Is it 50-50?
Right.
I'm not in that strategic role. I have no influence over our marketing strategy or anything. But what I do have influence over is building tools that I think move us in the right direction, right? And that's why I built the barking game. So.
I love that. Yeah, it's basically show don't tell. So
yeah, show don't tell.
Yeah, I love that.
Exactly.
And I think you raise a good point. It's like, on one hand, you could argue that Hedera has a lot of missing pieces that it needs. But Hedera is also the missing piece for a lot of other networks, right? It's
Absolutely.
talked about quite a few times, maybe Solana needs more accurate time tracking. It's like, boom, HCS, plug your app in. So Hedera can return. It's a combination of, like you're saying, like thinking forward, working through what this new identity, what the future looks like, but also kind of returning to the past and go, well, the inventor Lehman Baird framed it as a trust layer of the internet. So we've learned that there's a lot of networks out there that are very powerful and successful that are going to start to hit those bumps when it comes to trust. And can Hedera be a trust layer for Web3 networks as well, and expand outwards? Like, it's not just about what exciting products, whether it be in the form of bridges or dexes or borrowing or whatever it is, oracles or whatever. Not only what impressive products can we import into our ecosystem, but what impressive products and companies can we incubate inside of our ecosystem and export outwards to other ecosystems,
Absolutely. And just because another ecosystem has 5 different Oracle solutions doesn't mean that Hedera needs 5 different Oracle solutions.
Right.
We need to realize where we are in the whole scheme of things and where we have the best opportunity to win. Yeah, the best opportunity to win, because, look, I see the tweets that talk about, oh, Hedera has increased the supply of circulating HBAR by this much and this much, right? I see those tweets, and yeah, I mean, it's a real thing, right? But at some point, you really have to figure out, like, who really are we, and how much is it EVM based? How much is it HTS based? How much of it is HCS based? Right. And like, where are our strengths, and where can we compete the best? Where's our edge? Right. Like, my brother's a trader, and I hear him talk about, like, what his edge is. Like, I don't have an edge in investing. I have an edge in building. So that's why I like to build things. Right. But don't be where your edge isn't unless you're willing to put an enormous amount of capital and energy
Right.
to create an edge in that space. Yeah. And
Gotcha.
I don't have the solutions right now. I've got some ideas. I probably shouldn't share any of those ideas on
Yeah.
the show here, but yeah, I've put blood, sweat, and tears into Hedera since 2021. The NFT SDK and all I know the NFTs aren't all the rage right now, but NFTs are a fundamental asset of the digital world, right?
Yeah.
They're a pillar of
They're not
property.
just monkey JPEGs anymore.
Yeah, they are a pillar of property in the digital world. And that's why I did earlier in Q1 this year. I released NFT toolkit.app and the NFT SDK. And, I know mintbar.xyz is down right now. We're waiting on grant funding to come through to get
Gotcha.
mintbar back up. But yeah, I really, since I don't have a whole lot of influence over, I'm not a bigwig, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah, okay.
You got a big hat.
Yeah, I got a big hat, but I don't have a big wig. I mean, look, I'm almost going bald here, so I don't have a big wig, that's for sure. But what I can do is what I know best, and that's build for the end user and try to build something that's fun, simple, and gets used. And I hope that that's what the Barking game has done for our community. And I have seen, I'm not going to take credit for this, but I have seen since the Barking game launched, the vibes have gotten a lot better. It's my
Yeah.
goal was to create a positive feedback loop for our ecosystem.
Yeah. I honestly, I wouldn't, I think it'd be hard to argue that the Barking game hasn't had a positive vibe impact. I've been feeling that too. And just maybe kind of touching on what you mentioned there as well. The theme that I get, the sentiment I get from people is it's not just about how much stuff do we have in the ecosystem, how much tooling do we have. It's what's the full picture? Is it integrated? Is it easy for someone to come in and just
Right.
move through the ecosystem? Does it matter if we have 5 bridges or 1? It's like, how do things interact with each other? Is this ecosystem greater than the sum of its parts? And that's the
Yep.
kind of secret sauce I think that Solana figured out, a few other
Yep.
ecosystems figured out and saw success from. And so I agree that's a good strategy for Hedera right now. Is maybe it's no longer the time to really start throwing stuff at the wall and go, well, we're 6 years into this experiment and we've got a ton of dynamite projects and startups that have formed inside of this ecosystem.
Mhm.
How can we export those outwards? How can
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
utilize those?
Yeah. It's like, do you want to have a shotgun approach or do you want to have more
Yeah.
of a rifle approach? Um, how precise do you want to be? Like, if you're really focused and really have strong conviction on what you want to fund and where you want to go, like the sniper approach is better. If you're not so sure, then the shotgun approach is better
Sure.
because it's more of a spray and let's see what's successful. Again, I'm more on the technical side of things.
Yeah.
I get brought in to analyze, architecture and tokenomics and stuff like that. But I'm sure it's a difficult role.
I think as someone building this network, using the tools in this network, being in the community, I think it really gives you an authority on these topics. I mean, sure, you can have a marketing background or whatever that is. But what it really comes down to is like, do you understand the community?
Yeah.
And you do. So I think that your thoughts on that is great.